Hi, I'm Alexis. I'm here to talk about youth and what they face in the system and in everyday life. Sorry if you hear anything, it's my animals. I think that the most biggest thing with youth going into the system and everything is they don't get the help they need, and they always go back to the gangs they were in. I think gang association and affiliation is a really big thing. Growing up in Tempe, I went to a kids' school with a lot of kids from South Phoenix, and that was a very, 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 very big influence thing. I think in the system, they just don't get the help they need. They need the love, they need the help, they need to know that, gangs are not the only way to go, and that's not the only place to, be safe. I think a lot of youth think that the gang, they find safety and love and acceptance, and they really just have a misconception of it because that's where they grow up, that's where they are. Yes, a lot of them don't, but a lot of them do, and a lot of them facing in the system could be violent, all these things of just kids are very violent, and if they didn't grow up on the right foot, it makes it even worse. I think that's one of the big things. I found Youth Alive as my program for kids and everything. They help out with a lot with the gang violence and the help with getting kids to not be as violent, to be going to school, to be able to live a normal life and not have to worry about all of the violence and everything that they're in. Actually, their mission is attention must be paid. Where there has been violence, there can be healing. And I think that's very powerful in a way because, yes, where there's violence, there can be healing, but not everybody knows that. Not everyone sees it. Not everyone accepts it. The goals with their mission that I read is to educate and train youth leaders to create a more peaceful community, which means no gangs, no violence. Let's get the kids out of it to make sure they know that they have a future and everything. Another one is to interrupt the cycle of violence on the streets. Sorry, took me a minute. This is just kind of we need to take the violence that was from the street and we need to apply it to everyday life and know that they don't have to do that. Another one is to convince angry victims or loved ones to not retaliate. So which means in a conflict situation, do not retaliate. Do not go through with it. Walk through it instead of fighting for it. And then the last one is to prove ongoing support to help the wounded and grieving to get needed services to heal from their trauma. A lot of these kids go through trauma of homicides from their brothers and sisters, from being in gangs, their dads, their moms, their grandpas. And so going through and being able to heal from that is a strong and powerful thing. They serve, I believe, the LA youth, mostly the lower income students and families, because with lower income, there's always more violence. And that's just kind of how our society works. Their funding is through individual donations, so they do not really take anything from big corporations or government funding. They take it all from individuals who want to help impact the violence. A couple of their statistics that I found that shows positive outcomes is that 80 through 90% of their kids resolve conflict that would have been ended in a fight. So instead of that 80 and 90% of them, they resolve it in a way that they can just talk through the problems instead of having to fight through them. 2 to 3 fewer students believe it's ever okay to hit a girlfriend or boyfriend, which is a very big improvement because you see domestic violence is very big in low income, that's how their parents were raised, that's how they're gonna raise, that's how the men wanna act. And then over 100 of their students that were violently wounded youth over a 4-year period successfully re-enrolled in school, which is very big because we see with a lot of kids that they go through all these problems and all these things, and they don't go back to school and they don't get what they need to be able to have a good job. How I found them is I was kind of just doing my research through youth violence, and I really like helping with the gang situation. I want to be a school resource officer to help with the gangs and the violence and the fighting and help those kids have the confidence to overcome that. The conclusions I made from my research is that they are doing very well as a company to help these kids. I know that there's one that's in Arizona. I don't know if they're still working. They're called All Stars. They're a great company. They help with drugs and alcohol and to get kids away from it so they don't stoop too low to it. So all these conclusions come together, and I just think that they're helping the community for a better life and a better outcome, and know that they can go have a future, know that they can go to college, know that they can get a great job and impact the kids that they came from. I think reforming kids going to jail for these things is a really big thing. I don't believe that kids should go to jail for nothing too big, nothing, and if they haven't really killed somebody or anything like that, they shouldn't just be thrown in jail and like thrown the key away. One of the biggest quotes that I found on the Innocence Project is, "I lost my child, my freedom, and nearly my life because of a false jailhouse informant testimony." That was by Ellen Reasenover. I think that's huge because a lot of these kids don't realize that what they're going to lose being in jail and what they do to their actual families. The Innocence Project is I'm a very big supporter of them. They help with the injustice of our our system, and our system is very messed up, and I think that one step at a time we can make it a little bit better. Another one is from the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. It says that males account for 70% of delinquency in caseloads in 2015. This is a statistic, and I think it's very important because a lot of the gang-related violence and the violent kids that like Youth Alive helps and everything like that are males. Yes, females do act out. Yes, we are just as big of a community as they are, but males have more of a dominance in the violence and the gang-related stuff. So I think that that's very big to show the statistic and to show that this is what's actually happening in our lives. And I think Youth Alive is a great program, and I think that they're doing great things. It's very positive. All of the testimonies are very positive of being. One of them is my caught in the crossfire caseworker was the first person who made me realize my life was worth saving. So this is just a kid who was caught in between gangs and non-gangs, and what do I do with my life? What do I have to live for? And this person made them feel like they had a life, and I feel like that's very important for youth, to make them feel like they can live and they have a future and that they can go to college. So thank you.